It's all about, first, it's relationship. Scott, everything in this industry is relationship based. Build a relationship with a reputable surety agency and bonding company. If they know you, then they will stretch.
Yeah.
They'll do, like, it's trust, right? Like, they've seen your work, and if you come to them and say, hey, I really want this, they will listen to you. And they'll be like, how can we make this happen for you? But if I don't know you and bonding company doesn't know you and you come at me with something wild, like, nobody's going to do that for you. But if you continuously build out, even if you don't have bonded projects, just build a relationship, because that opportunity might come down the pipeline. That's your dream project, and it's bonded, and you're going to be searching for an answer for it. And two, it's focus on the projects that you intake, right?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Construction MF'ers. This is a new episode with Neb Aynu and Kingdom Bonding. Today, we are going to talk all about bonding. We're going to talk about social media and LinkedIn and how we connected. We're going to talk about if you're in the business of trying to be bonded and get bonded work, or you think government contracting is a pathway for you, this is a must listen. We're going to touch on topics like performance, cash flow, getting bonded, getting approved for bonded, which type of projects you should go after, which ones you shouldn't. There is so much packed into this episode, and I can't wait to get started. So let me introduce you to my guest, Neb Aynu, owner and founder of Kingdom Bonding. Welcome to our show.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me. I look forward to chatting about bonding, cash flow, and Jordan Peterson.
Me too, man. I would love for you to kind of give a little heads up on who you are, what Kingdom Bonding is, how you set it up, and kind of maybe you could talk a little bit about how we got connected.
Of course. So my name is Neb Aynu. I'm the founder and owner of Kingdom Bonding. We're one of the few minority-owned bonding-only agencies in the country. What I do is, the mission behind Kingdom is to educate the contractor about the bonding process. And in return, that will turn them into multi-million-dollar companies. And in return, that'll help them build generational wealth. I'm huge on education and content. I've noticed in the bonding industry, bonding is such a foreign tool to contractors, and they don't understand the power it has to really change their company. So I started in bonding 6 years ago, or 7 years ago. We're in 2024. I kind of fell into it, to be honest with you. I did not know any insurance or construction or even what bonding was, but I knew I wanted to make an impact on what I was doing on a daily basis. And then two, I wanted to control my own destiny. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was a entrepreneur. My siblings are entrepreneurs, so I have that drive. But then I wanted my work to have impact, and that's why I saw how bonding. That's what bonding does. It's a financial vehicle for contractors to grow into multi-million-dollar companies. How me and you, Scott, we met was it was through LinkedIn. The power of social media is real. I think you came up on my feed, and you posted a post about Jordan Peterson, and a very few know about Jordan Peterson, and I feel like I'm automatically connected to anybody that listens to him. And I think one of the posts that you did was it's better for a warrior to be in a garden than to be a gardener in a warrior, or in a war. And I was like, who is this guy? And I was like, I gotta like this and comment on this just to get connected with him. And we kind
What
of
does
just,
that have to do with cash flow and construction? Who
no,
knows?
nothing at all. It was just, values. I'm a huge I connect on values and who the person is, and I really liked what you were doing, and then kind of looked more into you, and I was like, oh, he does cash flow, and oh, he does mobilization funding for contractors. Man, this is a pain point, a number one pain point for contractors. Like, every single meeting I'm in, number one thing contractors face is cash flow. It's cash flow issues, Neb. Neb, I need more cash. And I really appreciated what you were doing. And that's how we connected. And then we ended up sending you one contractor, and the rest was history. And then we met up in Miami. You
Yeah.
knew Eric Coffey, a mutual friend of mine that has helped my contractors do his GovCon Giants. And like-minded individuals tend to hang around each other.
It's funny how life works like that, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
interesting. The reason I put that Jordan Peterson post out, of course, I believe it in myself, but why it related to construction, I'm thinking about it back now, is I remember thinking, talking to construction contractors all the time, there's this strong, confident people, men or women, they get into this field. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. So you have generally strong, confident people in there. But yeah, anytime they go to have a discussion necessarily with either getting new work or negotiating with a GC or going after a government contract, somehow that warrior inside becomes more timid. Or what I see more often is someone who's coming from a place of more scarcity versus like, I'm abundant, like an abundance, like I can come do this, I'm going to make this
Mhm.
happen. And so I was trying to relate the two facts that you can be who you are. You should roll into a construction general contractor that you want to work with and tell them, or her, here's why I want to crush this. Here's why you should hire me. And this is why I'm going to be great at it. And by
Mhm.
the way, here's my weaknesses and what I need your help on, but here's why I'm going to be successful and like deliver that. Like that's who people want to work with. And that was that warrior versus gardener
Mhm.
mentality that I was trying to tell people. And it wasn't really warrior versus gardener. It's more garden. You don't want to be
Mhm.
only a gardener in a war and not know how to fight. And I think the fighting part wasn't like fist fighting. It's more of like, are you equipped for the battles you go into every day? And can you lean in on those, the strengths and attributes that you have and that knowledge when it comes time to actually be in the battle? And the battle doesn't necessarily always have to mean a fight. It might just mean I got to battle with this wall to get it up today because,
Mhm.
concrete's going to be set the end of the week, whatever that might be. And so that is very synonymous with construction, I think. And especially in the bonding world, to get bonded, it is not easy, right? It's a battle, it's a
Mhm.
process. And maybe you can touch a little bit on what do you think are some of the most important things about the bonding world and in specifically in government contracting, which is where bonds are needed
Yeah.
primarily or most often. What do contractors need to do to get bonded? What sets them up for success?
Exactly. That's a great question, Scott. Number one thing I tell my contractor is get a good construction-oriented bookkeeper and accountant. That is, I'm telling you, like 85 to 95% of all bonds I work on is because the accounting is not in place. Our industry, they're field people, right? So they're not back office people. They don't understand the power of accounting and organization and making sure you're making money on projects, making sure you're tracking your jobs properly. That's probably the number one thing I tell my contractors is have your back office in order. If your back office is in order, bonding is very easy because I can go in there and be like, hey, send me your balance sheet and profit and loss and aging schedule. Everything tracks. I can tell you right away what you qualify for. But if you at times is they don't have the proper knowledge of
Mhm.
how to track those jobs properly, and they don't have the proper systems in place. And three, they don't have the proper help. And proper help means they're working with, their cousin that just wants to do their bookkeeping, has no idea what our industry does. Our industry is very different. We're just like that lost child that nobody knows about. Like, because we're just like, we're not restaurants, we're not hospitality, we're not, everything is like a heartbeat in this industry. Like one day you're like making a lot of money, and then 3 months down the road, you're like losing money. So that this person has to understand job-based accounting. If
Mhm.
they understand that, then they would know how to track your numbers properly. And then at year end, you know what you're doing, you know where you're bleeding, you know where not to go again. So that's probably the number one thing I would tell my contractors, just get your back office in order. And that's kind of what I do in the first 6 months of our relationship. It's just helping them set those things up, and then bonding becomes very easy. And it's like, oh, they're like, it makes sense now. They're like, everything you're saying, it's like true. It's like you're actually leading me well. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, this
Well,
is what it takes. Yeah.
it's interesting because one of the things we hear and see a lot in our world is, hey, I got this contract. I've been going after government contract. I finally broke through. I've been bidding. I put these RFPs in, and they finally won one that they really wanted. And now
Mhm.
they find out, of course, they need a bond, which they realized. And so now they start the process of getting a bond. Is that the right time to do that? Or is it better
No,
time to get a bond?
it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Please don't call me. Say I have a $5 million project and I need a bond tomorrow. It's not gonna happen. And it's just, it's kind of being like prepared for war, right? Business is war. If you want to look at it one way or the other, it is war, and you have to be prepared for the battle. And how to become prepared is first you build a relationship with a reputable surety agency and bonding company, and then it's kind of like getting mortgages, right? So if you want to become a real estate developer, you wouldn't just go look at homes that you don't qualify for. You would first find out how much money you got, how you're going to do it, and what you can afford.
Yeah.
Bonding is very similar. You first, before you go run your mouth to any contracting officer or any GC or developer, you get your ducks in order. And then you go in there confidently and say, like, hey, this is what I can do for you, and this is the bond that I can issue. That's probably the perfect way to do it instead of doing it last minute. But it
We
is
always
what it is.
I always try to analogize it to construction, like getting bonding, going after government work. Okay, so let's just say you want to have a construction company that's going to go after government work, execute government work, work for the government, and therefore that's how you're going to perform and get paid and make a profit. Okay, that's great. Okay, what are
Mhm.
you going to do to make that happen? Well, you need a bond. Okay, in order to get a bond, let's work backwards. What do you need to do to get a bond? And it's just like a construction site. You're not, if you want to finish a hotel on a construction site, you're not just going to throw the hotel on top of it or go after Marriott, Hampton Inn, or other brands, Hilton's, and try to figure out who can build a hotel or who will let you build a hotel. You go first and you find a site. You make sure a hotel could fit on the site. You get the
Yep.
entitlements. You would get, you would build the infrastructure. I think bonding is the same type of thing. Your site plan is your construction. Do you or your financials? Do you have the financial infrastructure in place to be able to put a bonding program on top of it? It's
Mhm.
your, if the bonding program is going to be your structure that's going to allow you to access government contracts, well, then you need the
Yep.
right financial footings and systems in place so that you can put a structure on top of it. And so bonding is that structure. And then you can grow from there and develop. And it's the same thing. So and you make a great point. I think it's important to understand why construction contractors usually find family members to do their financials. And it's because of trust, right? This is a world out
Exactly.
here of like lack of trust.
Mhm.
There's a world out here of people taking advantage of people, pushing people down. And the last thing you want to do is have someone take advantage of you in the financial realm. So that said, I get it. Now, if you have a family member, a friend who understands construction contracting and finance, and they are a CPA or they're a controller and they can help you, 100% leverage them. But if they're not, you have to have a construction focused accounting team that can build you the infrastructure. And you can take your friend that might be a CPA and they can execute the transactions, but you have to allow your construction accounting firm to set up how you're going to recognize revenue, build your financials, count cost, work in progress, AR, AP. And then, of course, any controller can execute that plan, but
Mhm.
you must have somebody build the infrastructure properly before you start moving the transactions around. And I think that's the key piece. And if we backed up even farther, obviously accounting is not just tax, right? It is this like the
Yeah,
tax. Who does your taxes is nothing about what you're talking about at all.
nothing at all.
Nothing at all. And I think that's a big distinction that we have to make. Who does your taxes has zero to do with your construction accounting, this infrastructure, and what you need to be bondable.
Exactly. Exactly. I think what it's not about your taxes. And I like what you said about trust. Trust is very important to any business relationship, especially in the financial realm. So I totally get it when contractors work with somebody they trust. And usually that person is good. I don't blame any non-construction oriented accountant that produces a statement for me that does not make sense. It's not their fault. It's just they're just not as a specialty. It's like me trying to do like mobilization funding. Like I would have no idea how to do that stuff. Like me doing insurance or like commercial liability. I have no idea how to do it. I would just be Googling it and giving it to you.
Yeah.
So just you got to work with somebody that is a specialty, and you got to have trusted advisors for each sector in your business. And that team is going to help you grow. And why this construction CPA is probably the most important relationship you'll have over me, over anybody. Like this person is going to handle your numbers, and numbers are very important in this industry. And the reason being is because there's three different types of statements that your accountant can produce for me. The first one is your cash basis, right? So that's what everybody does. It's just cash basis statement. That's how I pay my taxes. You know, Neb, I just take out money at year end and I deplete my bank account because I don't want to pay the IRS, Uncle Sam anything. And that's what my accountant told me to do, Neb. And why are you telling me to do anything differently? So I'm coming in there like telling them completely 360 stuff, you know? So it's like, it's a whole different conversation. But once they see the power of it, they understand it. But first, it's your cash basis. Why it's very important for you not to do this is because cash is what like 20 to 30% of what a contract has going on, because their cash is always in projects. It's always somewhere tied in. So if I'm just seeing cash basis statement, I'm looking at 20% of your bonding program. You're missing like 80 to 70% of what you actually qualify for. So you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. Second is the accrual basis, just the bare minimum to get a bonding program. That accrual basis is just your aging and your payables schedule. So all your projects are tied in on receivables and payables, right? I got to see that, and they got to be current. That's why I need to see it. And then three is percentage of completion, right? Percentage of completion is what I try to get all my contracts to do. That's when you know you're working with a construction-oriented bookkeepers, because they're tracking your under and over billings on your work in progress schedule. What projects you haven't billed yet, and projects you've billed, right? So that can make a whirlwind of a difference of your working capital. Your working capital, your equity is directly correlated to your bonding program. So it can increase at each moment. And if I can just get at least a accrual basis statement, I can tell you right away. And it has to be properly done too. That's the other thing. That's a whole different story. But that's why it's important, man. It's like if you can do that, it's very easy. But it's a lot of people are just not educated about it. They just think they think of it as just like paperwork. You know, like
Yeah, no. And you know what? Here's the thing too. I would say, listening to this, I could hear, and I remember myself listening to this the first time thinking, wow, man, I don't know anything about that. That makes me nervous. Like, and I would do nothing, right? For example. Or what I would encourage people to do is hear this now and think, oh man, how am I supposed to know all this? This is a lot much more to learn. I got all these employees. I got this next job. I'm still bidding. I'm estimating. I'm winning these projects. I got to finish this. I don't have time for this. Guess what? You don't have to figure this out. That's what we're trying to tell you. You just need to get a construction accountant so they can figure it out.
Yep.
They'll be able to figure it out for you. And by the way, when they say figure it out, they don't have to know all about your business. The reason you get a construction account is you can leverage their experience across the hundreds of other construction contractors. You don't have to reinvent the wheel different for you. Your business isn't that much different in construction as far as numbers that flowing in and out. They can build you and what you do right into a nice setup so that you can manage that. And then you can have your controller, your bookkeeper, whoever it is, execute the transactions on a day-to-day basis and follow up with them. So don't worry about that. But it's good to put that in place now, because as you do tax and as you do accrual and as you have to manage work in progress and all those different things that go into bonding, it's really, really critical. And so I just want to make that point that as you listen to this and get nervous or listen to this and think, oh, overwhelmed, don't worry about it. That's why you go to a commercial accounting firm that can actually handle construction and knows it. And we can obviously refer you to multiple different ones, depending on where your geography is or who you want to work with. I'm sure you have some, Neb. I know plenty, and we can do that. So don't worry about that. That's like, if that's a list if that's tasks on your list today, just put a check in that. You make one phone call, we'll introduce you to 3 of them, figure out which one you like the most, gives you a good feeling, and boom, you're good. But let's go back to, you mentioned something on cash flow. And look, I think cash flow, it's well documented. If you ask 100 contractors, if not 100 of them, 99 are going to tell you cash flow is the biggest concern. It's the thing they manage the most. They got to pay attention to. How does cash flow impact getting a bond? So, okay, we have financial statements, getting bonding. Now you're looking at cash flow. Now you're looking at projects. And of course, we're going to hit performance. And that's the other key one. But let's talk about cash flow first. How does that challenge in construction weigh into the bonding world?
Great question, Scott. As legend says, that cash is king. And cash is very king in the bonding world. The surety companies, they are, I love my surety companies, but they're so conservative. And they're just, I know what makes them tick, and what makes them tick is cash. If they see cash on your statement, that's the number one thing. When an underwriter opens up your submission for me, or the balance sheet, number one thing they look at is how much cash does this person have. That says a lot about your business. That says everything you need to know about your business. So I made a great content about how to make cash the king of your company. If you can do that, everything is very well. But what cash is to bonding? It shows first you have a decent flow of income coming in, right? And secondly, it also shows that you know how to run a business properly, right? And because in this industry, cash is always tied up. So I tell my contractors, get a line of credit. If you can get a line of credit and protect your cash, and you want to protect your cash when profits come in on projects, you retain it. Just keep on building that cash flow, because you don't know what's going to happen, especially with subcontractors, which is why I really like what you're doing, Scott, with mobilization funding. You're literally solving a huge pain point for contractors, because with subs, they're always tied up on materials, right? They're tied up on a supplier, or somebody owes them money, so they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like they're just playing a game, right? Yeah. And that game can become very dangerous, because if you don't get paid on one, all right, that's cool. Cash is getting a little low. You don't get paid on second, you're kind of freaking out, because you're like, how am I going to pay this person now? And then that third one hits you're filing bankruptcy. Like there's no if and buts about it. So if you can work with reliable people like yourself, and also banks that can give you that funding to help you cash flow that stuff, that says a lot about you as a contractor. And it's just, it's just understanding this stuff, because there's ways around everything, but it's just working with the specialized people that can help you get there. Right. So
it's analogous. You make a great point, because you got to, go back to trust. You got to be able to trust the partners that you're going to work with. And if you have any goal at all of scaling your business, or any business really, and construction is no different, but if you have any goal of doing that, you're going to have to start to trust your employees. You're going to have to trust your systems. You're going to trust your processes. your attorneys, your accountants, the people you work with, professional services. You got to start to build systems that you can trust with those people and them. Lending is the same way. I mean, one of the biggest, I mean, I don't blame people when they call us and they're skeptical because there's so many scrupulous lenders out there. There's so many times that someone's been let down by a bank. They're not worried the bank's going to steal from them, but they are worried the bank's going to string them along, and that breaks trust. There's other people who tell them they're going to be able to get them something and they can't, and that breaks trust. So we don't look at people when they call us and have that skepticism and frustration. And a lot of the reason why we do what we do up front and ahead of time is to build rapport with folks, to know, like, you got to work with people that you can understand. Just like an accountant that does construction, you got to work with a lender that knows construction, or someone that knows your business. And just like you got to work with a bonding agent that's bonded construction projects before, and the type that you do. And they know the sureties, they know which ones like the kind of work you do. There's differences in all that. So you've got to ask those questions and get tight with those folks, because in the lending world, you can get cash from a lot of different places. But if you get it from the wrong lender that doesn't understand what you're doing, and then all of a sudden they get nervous, you could have problems. If you get a bond somehow, or you go to a bonding agent that has no idea what you're doing, but they somehow magically get you a bond, but somehow it doesn't work, and it's the wrong type of bond with the wrong requirements or the wrong covenants attached to it, you could be in trouble. So, like, these are the things that you don't know, and why you have to find people that know your world and you can trust. And I think that's one of the most important things in terms of figuring those out, and why.
Exactly. With that, go ahead.
So kicking around, like, so how does, we talked about bonding and the bonding world and why they like cash on the balance sheet, but let's talk about cash flow of the project. So let's say you have cash on the bond, but you have cash in your business, bonding company likes it. They're like, you know what, I like this business, I want to write a bond. Neb, show me the project. Like, what project are they doing? If someone likes your business and they want to bond you, can you still get denied for a bond after they look at the project itself?
Yes, that's a great question. So how the project and bonding plays, it's very important, because there's many times in my career where I've gotten stuff done, but I don't know how I got that done, but the scope of work makes sense. If I'm answering your question correctly, if the scope of work has a direct impact to your bond, right?
Yep.
For example, if the scope of work is we're doing electrical work and it's for a dorm, brand new dorm, new build. I got this done with one of my electrical contractors early in my career. It was for a $2.7 million bid that came up to be like $3.5 million, but his largest completed project was $700,000. In the beginning, he called me and he was like, "I want to do this, Neb." And I was like, "You're crazy. Like, I can't do that for you." And he was like, "But listen, man. And they try to sell me on it. But that's like my boy though. And he was like, it's electrical work. It's with the owner I've known for 10, 15 years. This GC is one of the largest in the Carolinas. And we're doing 200 rooms at the School of Arts, new build. And we're just going in there, just putting electrical work on each room and putting the fit out. So
Right.
it's like packages they're putting into
200
each room.
small jobs almost, right?
Yeah. And he was like, "It's so simple, Ned. Like, why is this an issue?" And then I was like, "All right, so tell me more." And so how I got it done was, so if you know, in the bonding world, your large completed project times 2 is what you qualify for. So he only qualified for $1.5 million. He wanted to get 2.7. I was able to get it done. The reason why I was able to get it done is because I was able to go to a bonding company and explain to them, and I had the president of the surety company on a call with him, and Calvin went through the whole project, and he went through like, "Hey, we're doing this work. I have, and the other things, you have to have experience doing this stuff. You can't just like come in on a project and just say, I'm going to do this work. Like he had experience before he started he started the company. So he worked for a larger GC like Balfour Beatty for like 15, 20 years as a PM, managing like 50 to $100 million projects. And he's having trouble getting bonding at, $1 million. He's like, Neb, this is a joke. like I've managed this, Neb. Like I've managed $50 million project. Why is this a problem? And I was like, yeah, but you haven't managed as an owner. But I was able to use his resume, and then what they care about is who's doing the work, the labor, right? So like, who's your labor that's doing this stuff? And have you worked with them in the past? Do you have in-house labor? Are you subbing the stuff out? How long have you worked with the sub? If all those things check out, then we can make this work. But if it's not checking out, then you got to follow the proper metrics of times to a large completed project.
Yeah. See, you touched on a lot of things there that I want to point out. One, performance. Have you performed before? What size projects have you performed before? Have you performed as an owner in that geographical location on that type of work, in that type of scope of work? Do you have if you haven't in your own business, what kind of experience and resume do you have in your prior life? I.e., I worked for a large company or another company managing these projects. Not my first, it might be my first project of 2.7 million in my entity that looks like it's only 2 years old, but I've been doing this for 20 years and here's my experience, right? So there's that. The cash flow of the project matters a lot, you mentioned. And of course, the business. And I think the reason I asked you the question about why does the project matter so much and can you get approved for a bond? Can your company be liked, but can a project bond be denied? And I think the reason there is you hit it on the nail on the head. Yes, if it's outside the scope of work you do, if it's not part of something you've done before, if it's larger than you've done before, if the job doesn't cash flow and you don't have the right labor or you're in a new geographical market, these are things that can deny you. And so the reason we bring that up is get performance in what you do and a good track record for it, because it's just as critical to the surety as your financial infrastructure. So while you're working on financials and your financial structure, be working on the types of jobs and the performance that you're going to be able to do them. No one wants to take their maiden voyage on this big job, right? That you're going to do, sureties or yourself. And so get some practice and get some performance history in exactly the types of jobs you're going to bid and execute in the bonding world. And you can build that rapport and that trust and that rhythm to be able to let a bonding company see, oh yeah, here it goes. It's all been working well. It's all been going well. Now this one just happens to be bonded, but they're going to be able to execute that, bam, and done. And now you're in. And then as you start to perform bonded work, the door opens up more and more and more and more.
Exactly. It's all about, first, it's relationship, Scott. Everything in this industry is relationship based. Build a relationship with a reputable surety agency and bonding company. If they know you, then they will stretch.
Yeah.
They'll do, like, it's trust, right? Like they've seen your work, and if you come to them and say, hey, I really want this, they will listen to you. And they'll be like, how can we make this happen for you? But if I don't know you and bonding company doesn't know you and you come at me with something wild, like, nobody's going to do that for you. But if you continuously build out, even if you don't have bonded projects, just build a relationship, because that opportunity might come down the pipeline. That's your dream project, and it's bonded, and you're going to be searching for an answer for it. And two, it's focus on the projects that you intake, right?
Yeah.
Don't be so focused on that, 2 million. I gotta do 5 million. I gotta do 10 million, or that $10 million project. I just want my name on the screen. I want my branding out there. I want to do JVs, and I don't care about that. I want to know how much money you're making. Like, what is your profit margin? Who are the owners? And what I say is, like, pursue small projects between 50 to 500,000. And you could do that all day and just be cash rich. Because why I like those is because they're quick turning, one, and two, you get paid right away. So if you have 5 to 10 projects, that's like your eggs, and two go sour on you, you still got 8. You know, that's still cash flowing for you. But if
Yep.
you have 2 large ones, you know, one at 2 and one at 4, if that 4 goes sour on you, like, man, you're gonna be like in some deep trouble, right? And so you only have that 2, and these projects are dragged out. The schedule happens, rain happens. Um, you don't. There's so much that goes on these large projects,
It's not
right?
even your control. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in your control. So once you have your nest egg of those smaller projects, I'm telling you, man, those small projects are gold mines. Like I've seen, I'll tell you a quick story about my contractor. She was at negative 200,000 working capital. She had tax liens. Agent dropped her. She called me for a $200,000 bond. One of my top relationships now. It was like pulling teeth to get this $200,000 bond, but we got it done. And over time, for like 6 months, I'm like, hey, just pursue small. Don't worry about what everybody's doing. Just do your thing. 50 to 200,000. Do like 5 of those. And she listened. 3 months, she did it. Got paid right away. She went from negative 200,000 to positive 180,000 in 3 months in
Yeah.
working capital equity.
That
And then
story is
next
going to
year,
be,
yep,
anyone wants to lean into that story, that
yeah,
rhythm,
and then
momentum. You
exactly,
make
and
a
then
good
the
point
next
too.
year,
Like you
yeah,
take 3 $10 million companies, and okay, everyone wants to be a $10 million company, right? When you're not a $10 million company, 10 million sounds cool. Okay, great. But how much money are you making? But even if you are making the same amount, let's just say you're a $10 million, there's 3 $10 million companies, each one makes $1 million. That's what the financials look like. Now we dive to the next layer. One of them did 2 $5 million projects. One of them did 10 $1 million projects, and another one did 20 $500,000 projects. The one with 20 $500,000 projects is the one everyone's going to be more comfortable with every time, because you're moving that cash, you're watching them. You've executed 10 times more work or 20 times more work than a lot of the other 2 examples. And so building a rhythm of the type of work you do, and then you move those half millions up to 750 and 750 to a million, and then sprinkle a 500 and a million, and you start to balance that out. That you're going to work for 20 years. Don't try to bite off the 20-year mark in year 1.
yep,
Just let it roll. Like, I mean, your advice is spot on there.
yep, exactly. And then that's how you build a bonding program. Because people ask me, how do I do it, Neb? Like, what I got to do? And I'm like, really, there's really nothing else to it. You build cash flow and you do good work and you pursue the right work, right? So you pursue those small projects, 50 to 500,000 quick turning, that in turn will build a strong balance sheet. You retain profits in the company and pay your taxes, please. That's a whole different story. Because contractors love just taking money out the company, and then come January 1st, 15th, they'd be like, can I get a bond? But I ain't got no cash. I'm like, well, you took everything out of the company. What do you want me to do? And it's my fault. And I become the issue, right? But you know, that's just through relationship and trust. And they're like, oh, okay, I won't do it, because they get bit in the butt and they see
Mhm.
like, oh, this stuff is serious. Like these people are like financial like doors.
Yeah.
And I can't be like playing this game, because if I play this game, then I'm not gonna get government contracts. And I actually gotta listen to them. And then over time, they just become very appreciative, Scott. Like the relationship I have with my contractors, what I love about what I do. It's they they're truly grateful for the advice that you give them, because they see the value in it, right? And and then they see like, oh, like I'm making money, like and then I see them take out like $1 million out of their company, and they still got like 5 in there,
Yeah.
like
No,
they're like that's
it's
real,
key,
like
man.
you know.
Let's let's talk about one other side of the bonding world that I think gets missed a lot. So we've talked about all the things you need to do to get bonding. We know the opportunities in doing and performing bonded work. Let's talk about the risks of performing bonded work. Like,
Mhm.
for example, if you fail or get kicked off a project on a bonded job versus a non-bonded job, and you're a construction contractor, let's talk about what the problems are and the differences between the two scenarios.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, I'll tell you that. It's a
Right.
whole different world. Do not fail on a bonded project. So um, first of all, don't do work that you're not supposed to be doing. That's my job to verify all that stuff. That's a bonding company's job to when I say no to you and the bonding company says no to you, it's because we see red flags. And we don't want you to be in this scenario that I'm about to explain. So if it's a bonded project and you do end up failing on it from a performance standpoint, you can probably fix it, right? So usually what happens is a claim is filed, I get the claim, I send it to a bonding company, and then bonding company, me and bonding company, the contractor get on a call and say, hey, can you resolve this? And they're like, yes, I can. And they end up resolving it. Funny story, the first project I bonded in my career actually went into claims. And funny story, the reason why I went to claims is because it was an ego battle with these fools. The guy, the sub left plastic forks in the concrete and it dried and he don't want to replace it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, replace this. He was like, no. I'm like, you and then they had to file a claim for him to like replace this stuff. And it was like a 6 to 8 months thing. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you people? Like most most of the stuff can be resolved, but when it gets bad, it's when you don't have enough funds, right? Your cash is low and your payment bond gets hit, right? And once your payment bond gets hit and you don't have the enough supplies to do this work, what the bonding company would do is they would find somebody at the same level of your expertise and get the owner, because the bond protects the owner, does not protect you, by the way. It's actually a insurance product to protect the owner from any payment or performance issues. The government, i.e., the GC or developer, and they once they go in and fix this problem for them, they're going to ask you to pay back whatever amount that you have cost them as a loss, and it can be through a payment plan, but you got to pay this money back. And if you can't pay the money back, you've signed a general indemnity agreement. And I would just recommend you just read through this thing. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, or like that's not what bonding is, because people are so concerned like, oh, they can take my house and they can like, they can take, everything I have. And yes, they can, but that's not in the business that we're in. But if you can't pay it back, that's why they have to take those things. Just how in lending, like you put up your assets to get a financial loan. That's what bonding is. Every project you're doing, you're taking a financial loan from a financial institution and saying, I'm going to perform on this project and actually and I have enough money for my labor and materials and subs. And if I don't, this bond is going to pay out for me. So that's what
there's another there's another layer there that of recourse you have to be accountable to. That's the thing. If it's not bonded, you could walk away and you're gonna have a fight with your GC and they could sue you and all that stuff, no doubt. If you walked off a job that was bonded, your GC is just going to put a claim into the bond, and now you're going to be fighting the bonding company, and that bonding agreement can be worse. So I only bring that up because I think a lot of people don't realize that, the beauty of our world is we're all very opportunistic. You think opportunistically, you always think about the good, but it's important to also understand how a job is different bonded versus how a job is that's not bonded. And you really don't have the same options in terms of performance. Like that job's going to get finished and you got to make sure it does. And if you're going to be accountable to finishing it, whether you do it or someone else does it, or the bonding company steps in and has someone else do it. So I bring that up. So Neb, anything else that I should have asked you about this bonding world, getting a bond, having a bond, performing under a bond, and the government work that I didn't, or I left off?
I would just say, I think one thing we just got to understand the power of bonding, right? It's if you understand what it can do for your business, you would do it right away. because it's literally a financial vehicle to make you into a multi-million-dollar company. And in return, you will be able to build generational wealth. And once you build generational wealth, you can do what you want with it, right? I think we're all in business to make money, right? We're all opportunistic. We're entrepreneurs, right? And that's why I like this stuff. It's like one thing you said in the beginning, it's about getting out of this lack mindset and abundance mindset, right? And this is a direct correlation to your abundance mindset. And that's what I try to like drill into them. It's like if you get this stuff, especially for the minority contractor, Kingdom was formed for the minority contractor, the person that's the underdog, and building them up into that top dog contractor, so they can bid with the big boys, they can make the money, because education is key. If you understand this stuff and there's actionable steps for you to get it, man, the world is yours.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So you're an entrepreneur. You've had your own struggles through starting your business. You've been in it now 8 years. One of the things starting off the new year that we're all focused on is our goals for 2024. What are your goals for 2024 and how can we help you?
That's a great question. 2024. I would say I actually did this last week or New Year's Eve. I did a visualization of my goals. Obviously, there's a number I want to hit for Kingdom. And two, I just want to, there's two words that I pick a word for the new year, right? One is align and two is abide. Align means aligning with my God-given purpose that I'm called to do this year. So anytime my energy gets off, I got to understand, am I aligning with this purpose that God has given me? And two, it's abiding, right? So abiding that I'm not doing this by myself. I have my Heavenly Father that's going to help me through this process, because I can become very focused on doing this myself. So aligning and abiding is probably the two things I want to do for 2024. And how you can help me is you help my contractors with their mobilization funding. And I think it's a lifetime partnership that we got here. So I look forward to seeing you around.
I love it, man. And listen, anyone we can help, any way we can help you, I'm happy to do it. I think we together today have helped a lot of people listening to this. There's tidbits in here, man. If you wanted to get started on any type of government work, bonded work, you could literally listen to this 30, 40 minutes here and just nail it. You got a great start. You're going to get to third base no matter what. Reach out to either Neb or I if you need any help with the construction accountants. Neb, how can people find you, link up with you, share your content, hear what you have to say, and see your stories? What's the best places for them to link up to you?
Awesome. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn at Neb Aynu. The firm page is Kingdom Bonding. I also do a weekly newsletter igniting construction kingdoms. So you can follow that newsletter. Very good actionable steps. Also find us on our website at kingdombonding.com and Neb at kingdombonding.com.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to wrap us up here and thank everybody for joining us today. Neb, I really appreciate you joining. I appreciate all the information and insight. Of course, I've enjoyed our relationship and getting to know you better and better over the last year and a half, 2 years. You're an excellent advocate for me, and I appreciate that. And of course, our team here too. And so with that said, I'm going to tell everybody, I hope you have a great day, a great week. If you like this, if we helped you in any way, please share the show. Please let people know, find where they can find this information. Our YouTube channel, go ahead and click subscribe to the podcast. Jump on Neb's website and join his newsletter. We have one as well. There's tons of information out there. We're in construction. We're connected with a lot of people, and we can help you guys in every way. So take care. Have a great day, and God bless you all.